Hey, how's it going? I just want to go over some of the most common mistakes that I see in MLA format research essays. Nathan Branson, and just wanted to go over this for my English classes, especially my online classes, so that they understand, or you understand, what are the most common mistakes. Because if you're taking an online class, you might not be able to talk to me face to face, so this might help. So if you're writing specifically a definition essay, a cause and effect, or comparison essay, those are the most common research essays I have in my class. Sometimes a process essay as well. So if you can correct some of these small mistakes, you can get an A or a B. A lot of these are attention to detail, and they're very small, and they can make a difference between like a 95 and like 80. So typically in MLA, when you're writing MLA format, when you're writing in a college essay, your 5-paragraph essay, which is basically what we're doing, you need to be able to do these small details. So it's not about impressing the reader. It's more about making sure that the reader is informed, that your essay is not boring. And so these are tips to help you make your essay more engaging to the reader. You can put a bunch of facts down, but if you don't have any kind of connection from your first paragraph to your last paragraph and everything between, it can be really boring. And so I hope that these tips really help you. You also want to gain the reader's trust. So if you can gain the reader's trust and connect with them beyond just presenting facts, which are very important. Facts are important to present in your essay. You also have a flow that takes them from beginning to end. First of all, I want to say make sure you look over the rubric. That's what I grade by. So if everything that I'm talking about here is from the rubric and on the rubric. So make sure you look at that. It's there for a reason, and just look over it as you're writing your essay to make sure you have all these small details. So this is the standard that I grade by. Okay. If you're doing a research essay, make sure you look at how many pages. Okay. For most of my cause and effect essays, I ask for 3.5 pages. If you can't get to 3.5 pages, that's if you write just 3 pages or 2.5 pages, that could be at least 10 points off. So, so the maximum you would be able to make would be a 90. So make sure that whenever you write whenever you're finishing up, if you're having trouble finishing your essay and making it at least 3 pages or 3.5 pages or 4 pages, make sure that you get there. I can't stress that enough. And so how do you do that? One way you can expand, and one problem I see is short introductions. So a lot of times people have this default introduction that they've been taught in high school, which is good, but oftentimes what I don't see is an introduction that is hooks the reader and makes them actually want to watch it. Okay, so this is your opportunity to get their attention. And one suggestion I have is don't ever start off your essay with "throughout history, people have always blah blah blah." It's kind of one that's been used over and over and over. It's not wrong, but it's something everybody's seen, and it sounds it's cliche. So this one, what I sometimes suggest: imagine a world without blank, and then you try to, and whatever you write after that is probably going to be kind of original, because if you have all these different types of topics, you could say, imagine a world without PTSD. So that's the example essay that I've had for both my definition and my cause and effect essays. So you might have read that example by the student that wrote that. That was a student essay. So imagine the world without PTSD, or imagine the world without mental health disorders. Okay, that might be really interesting for your reader to think about and be like, how there will. I don't know. It'd be good for all those people who have those mental health problems, and for their family members. Imagine a world without divorce. What would families look like in America today if there was no divorce? So that is, and so whatever you write after that is probably going to be original, and interesting to your reader because you wrote it and it's your own original sort of imagine if. So that's a hook, and the whole point of the hook in your introduction is to get their attention. Okay, and there's lots of other ways. If you look in your textbook on in the chapter 33 on page 331, there's other ways you can do an introduction. Even just Googling interesting ways to hook a reader could come up with some interesting ways to start your essay. You want to be original. Now, once you've got your reader's attention, the middle part of the introduction is really important. So you want to tell your reader why this matters to them in 2018. So that's one thing you want to think about in the middle part of the essay. So if this is your intro right here, you got your hook, and then you go to your middle part of the essay. So the middle part is actually where I see students mess up quite a bit, or they just don't even have any background information, or it's just a 3 to 4 sentence introduction, which is not a good idea. That's boring. You want to make it at least 5 sentences. You want to get your reader informed and interested, okay, about whatever you're writing about. So how do you do that? So what I like to do is just give some context, background information about what PTSD is, or even if something is more commonly known, like divorce, you could add some statistics about the fact that divorce might be on the rise, or it's been a big problem in America, some statistic or fact that you could show some urgency. Okay, so stats, background information really help with that. Defining PTSD, talking about mental health in America, that is sort of getting your reader into whatever you're talking about. Another thing I like to do is just ask a question, why does it matter? And then put the why in there. That is a question you always want to have in your introduction. It's just, why does it matter? Because it matters to you, but we don't know that. A lot of students don't even hint to the reader why that it matters. And so you know why it matters to you, but we don't know why it matters to us. So we need to know that in the introduction. Most students get the thesis right, but a lot of times their hook and explaining the background of the actual subject is I've noticed, is a little bit weaker. So y'all were doing a great job oftentimes with the thesis, but this is the part I want you to think about how to expand. If you expand your introduction, your essay is going to be longer, and so that's good. So that's one way to expand your introduction. The same can be said about conclusions. And whenever you write a conclusion, this is another way to expand your essay. I'll have students who write, over a really long essay, but then their conclusion is only 3 sentences long. I assume that's probably because they're tired. So that they've been writing for 3 or 4 hours. They put all this energy into their body paragraphs, but then they're so tired, they're just like, I'm just going to turn it in. I'm going to write like 3 sentences and turn it in. So think about how you can make your conclusion stronger. Let's ask the same question. Why does this matter to my reader? Again, you want them to remind them why it matters to them. Again, so the same question, so what? One of my professors in college asked me that. He said, whenever you write your conclusion, just ask yourself, so what? Why does this matter? Again, you always want to be reminding your reader why this matters in general. And that can help the reader understand why they took the time to actually read your paper. Sometimes you want to, in the conclusion, give some sense of closure, make a big, maybe some statement that sort of summarizes the whole of your paper. And then also a call to action is one thing you might have learned in high school. You might say, so what are you going to do about, so think about how you can help people with mental health disorders, or think about how you can do X, whatever that thing is. Or so after reading this cause and effect essay about divorce, what can the normal American do to make sure to maybe prevent divorce, something like that. I'm just throwing some questions out, but just think about those to put the conclusion, to put the ball in the reader's court, so they can actually take action. So those are 2 good ways to expand your essay. Intros, conclusions, and Another way to expand your whole essay, if you're having trouble getting to the minimum page requirement, is whenever you have a quote to give commentary and explain why that particular quote's in there. Why did you put it in there? So if there's an essay about a president and you talk about the president's childhood, you just kind of stick a quote in there, but you're not explaining why that matters. You want to be the narrator. I like to say that you are sort of like the Morgan Freeman of your paper. You're the narrator. If you don't know who Morgan Freeman is, he's great at narrating in movies and also in his historical documentaries and whatnot. So think about how you can add commentary to your essay. You're the narrator of this particular essay. One other thing is drop quotes. A drop quote is whenever somebody puts a quote in the actual body paragraphs of the essay, and they don't say who said it. So if you say, "I have a dream," and then you quote Martin Luther King, but you don't say who said it, we don't know that Martin Luther King said that. Okay, you could say one activist said this. You could say it like that. That's fine. Just make sure that you have some phrase in front of that about who said that particular quote. So you want to give Martin Luther King credit, and that's going to give you the reader trust you more because you're quoting somebody credible. But then also it helps with flow. If there's just kind of a quote stuck in there without any context, it's confusing. So every time you quote somebody without a signal phrase, so the Martin Luther King said would be your signal phrase, that is 3 points off. But that is also a signal phrase. So you want signal phrases in there. The same goes with block quotes. Another thing I see a lot of times is they might if you put that whole quote from Martin Luther King from that speech in there, and it takes up like 5 or 6 lines, that means you want to put a drop quote in MLA format. So make sure that drop quotes, a block quote is long. So you want to look that up. That's in the textbook if you're not sure what that is, but that means you're just basically indenting it so it stands out, so the reader kind of knows where you're talking and where this long quote is. I'll make sure you don't use any personal examples. First person, you don't want to say, "In my opinion, my perspective is this." If it were up to me, leave the first person out. Make sure that you don't have any I in your entire essay, unless you're quoting somebody like MLK. Make sure you stay on topic. This isn't as common of a problem, but sometimes if students are if you're focusing on, if you're going to write about the symptoms of PTSD and or the effects of PTSD on a person, focus on those 3 effects. Don't get wrapped up in other effects that are there. Focus on those 3 effects. A lot of times you'll have somebody talking about maybe an effect of PTSD is that somebody maybe acts, I'm taking this from the essay, that it might be a little bit antisocial, but then don't start talking about the person, other aspects of the effects. Just focus on that one effect. Whenever you write the paragraph, that paragraph is about one idea, and if you're going to start a new idea, go to the next paragraph. Make that another effect. 2 more things. Use topic sentences. Okay? Topic sentences are the first sentence in every body paragraph. So that should be connected almost like a mathematical formula back to your thesis. So you have a topic sentence saying one effect of PTSD is you become a little bit antisocial. So you want it to sort of announce to your reader, almost like chapter titles. That's to sort of guide your reader along. So those transitions help your reader. They're for your reader. They're not for you. They're just for the reader to understand we're on the same page. We're going along. They might seem a little repetitive, but in some ways that's good because your readers might not know anything about PTSD, and you're educating them on it. So it helps them stay on path. Okay. Today in my face-to-face 111 class, I had my students read their essays out loud to one another. So if you have a chance to read your essay out loud, you're going to really pick up on a lot of small errors and things that just don't sound right. when you're reading it, you're a little subjective and you're a little bit, it's in your head, but whenever you read it out loud to somebody else, if you make a small mistake, it's a little bit embarrassing, and that's a good thing, because that way you're going to fix it, and that way it's going to sound smoother and how you intend it to sound. So if you get an opportunity to read your essay out loud to somebody, or just read it out loud to yourself, you're going to fix things that obviously sound different when you say it out loud. Okay, so those are really the main things that I see in essays, that in research essays. So if you can focus on those things, make sure you're on the right page, your essay could go up to 10 to 15 points. And so good luck, and if you have any questions, please email me, and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks.